Vinícius Jr. faces racism in football, but he shouldn't be fighting this battle alone. Discover how his courage is breaking barriers both on and off the field.
This young generation, Vinícius, that in my opinion he deserved to win the Golden Ball. It was unfair in my opinion, I say here in front of everybody. They give to Rodrigo, he deserved to, but I think they should give to Vinícius because he win the Champions League, they scored in a final goal.
Vinícius Jr., or Vini Jr., is a prime example of overcoming adversity, resilience, and perseverance in football. The young Brazilian forward, now shining at Real Madrid, had a career start marked by highs and lows, but always with a desire to triumph and stand out. Vini Jr. arrived in Spain in 2018 at just 18 years old and quickly became one of the most anticipated players of his generation. Real Madrid, famous for its history of success, made a significant investment in the young Brazilian's talent, paying one of the largest transfers in its history for such a young player. But Vini Jr.'s journey wasn't easy. Adapting to European football, the pressure of replacing legends, and the high expectations of the fans weighed heavily on him in the early years. In his first months at Real Madrid, Vini Jr. faced numerous difficulties on the pitch. His adjustment to European style of play was a challenge, and many critics began pointing out his flaws. The pressure to fit into the dynamics of one of the world's biggest clubs seemed immense. However, what many couldn't see was the immense potential he had, a talent that would eventually become undeniable. But beyond the technical and tactical challenges, Vini Jr. had to face an even crueler enemy: racism. During his first seasons in Spain, the forward became the target of racist attacks from both rival fans and public figures, something that deeply marked his journey. In various matches, especially against clubs like Valencia and Real Sociedad, Vini Jr. was insulted with racist chants and disrespectful comparisons aimed at diminishing his value as a player and a human being. The racism against Vinícius Jr. wasn't confined to the stadiums. He was constantly attacked on social media and even on television programs. The young player was often forced to speak out about the abuse he endured, demonstrating maturity in the face of such adversity. But instead of succumbing to the pressure, Vini Jr. used these attacks as fuel to keep growing and becoming stronger. The support from Real Madrid fans, other players, and even global football stars was essential for him to overcome this tough period. And over time, Vini Jr. proved his worth on the pitch. With dribbles, speed, and undeniable skill, he became one of the biggest stars in world football, earning the fans' trust and silencing his critics. Throughout the years, Vinícius Jr. has become not only one of the best players in Spanish football, but also a symbol of the fight against racism. His evolution on the field has been impressive, with decisive goals and memorable performances in important competitions like the Champions League. More than that, he has become an icon of overcoming obstacles, showing the world that it is possible to win, even in the face of the greatest challenges. Vini Jr.'s early days in Spain were indeed difficult. But thanks to his determination, talent, and the support of his teammates, he turned the challenges into achievements. Today, Vini Jr. is a respected player worldwide, not only for his ability on the field, but for the way he faced and conquered racism with dignity and courage. He continues to write his story, and the Brazilian's journey keeps inspiring millions of people around the world. The best in the world in 2024, Vinícius Jr. has solidified himself as one of the best football players on the planet. His football journey has been marked by incredible achievements and impressive development, making him an icon both on and off the pitch. Although Rodri won the Ballon d'Or in 2024, many consider Vini Jr. the true best player in the world that year, given his importance in decisive moments, especially in international competitions. Champions League 2022, final goal, one of the greatest feats of his career, and perhaps the most iconic moment in his journey, was the 2022 Champions League final, where Real Madrid defeated Liverpool 1-0. Vini Jr. scored the winning goal, becoming the hero of the final and leaving his mark in the club's history. This victory solidified the player as one of the top forwards in the world and one of the biggest names in the competition. La Liga 2023, national title. Vini Jr. was also a key player in Real Madrid's La Liga victory in 2023. His presence on the pitch, with brilliant performances, precise dribbles, and decisive goals, was crucial to the team's success in the Spanish championship. His partnership with stars like Karim Benzema and Luka Modric made Real Madrid one of the most dominant teams of the season. UEFA Super Cup 2023. Triumph over Frankfurt. Another trophy for Vini Jr.'s resume came in the 2023 UEFA Super Cup, where Real Madrid defeated Eintracht Frankfurt. The match highlighted Vini Jr.'s impact in club competitions, with his skill and speed being key to the team's success. 2022 World Cup. Participation with the Brazilian national team. Although Brazil was eliminated in the quarterfinals of the 2022 World Cup by Croatia, Vini Jr. was one of the standout players for the national team. He was instrumental in the team's campaign, with memorable performances and important goals. His presence in major international competitions like the World Cup cemented his reputation as a world-class player. Champions League 2024. With Toni Kroos's farewell, Real Madrid wins UCL versus Dortmund, with Vini Jr. as the best player of the tournament's six. Although he did not win the Ballon d'Or, 2024 was undoubtedly Vinícius Jr.'s best year in his career so far. His ability to turn matches around with dazzling dribbles and decisive goals made him the most valuable player for Real Madrid and the key figure in several important victories, such as in the Champions League, where his leadership was essential. His crucial role in titles like the Champions League and La Liga was key for many to consider him indisputably the best player in the world in 2024, despite the individual award going to another. Vinícius Jr. is undoubtedly one of the best players in the world today. With important titles such as the Champions League, La Liga, and the UEFA Super Cup, and with his exceptional performance in 2024, Vini Jr. continues to write his history in football. Although he lost the Ballon d'Or, he remains one of the brightest names in the new generation, and his impact on world football is only set to grow. His legacy, both at Real Madrid and with the Brazilian national team, is proof of his greatness and his potential to become one of the greatest of all time. Vinícius Jr. has stood out not only for his talent and achievements on the field, but also for his fight against racism that he has faced throughout his career. His journey in Spain, since his arrival at Real Madrid, has been marked by much more than just goals and spectacular dribbles. The young forward has often found himself a victim of racism in a country that, despite having produced great football icons, still carries a shadow of racial intolerance. Vini Jr.'s controversial behavior. It is important to acknowledge that Vinícius Jr., like any other top-level player, is in constant evolution and improvement. He himself has admitted that he needs to improve his behavior in certain situations on the field, especially with referees and other players. There have been some disrespectful incidents where Vini Jr. displayed impulsive behavior, something he recognized and stated he would work on improving. However, these incidents should not overshadow what he represents as a player and as a person, especially when compared to the challenges he faces off the field. Racism. The true injustice what Vinícius Jr. has faced in relation to racism in the Spanish league is unacceptable. Despite being a rising star, the player has been the target of constant racist attacks, not only from opposing fans but also from public figures. The dance party he performed when celebrating goals was criticized, being wrongly and extremely offensively associated with racial stereotypes. The presenter Josep Pedrerol, on a program in Spain, claimed the country is not racist, but the words and actions of other individuals and football groups clearly contradict this. Pedro Bravo, president of the Spanish Association of Player Agents, commented that Vini Jr.'s dances were monkey behavior, which is a clear example of explicit racism. Additionally, the case of the player Yamal, who was mentioned in a derogatory manner by Pedrerol, also exposes the gravity of structural racism in Spain. The words relating the possibility of a black player not succeeding in football to working at the traffic light are utterly disrespectful and reflect a deeply rooted problem in Spanish society. Inaction from Spanish authorities. Despite all the public statements of support for Vinícius Jr. from La Liga and the Spanish Football Federation, nothing concrete has been done to severely punish those who commit acts of racism. The lack of strict punishments and effective measures reflects a real lack of commitment to fighting racism in sports and society. Vinícius Jr. has called for firm positions from authorities in his own leagues, but what is seen in practice are only empty words. This silence from the entities demonstrates how racism has become a systemic problem in the country, which is not being dealt with in a serious and urgent manner. Vinícius Jr., as a public figure and football player, continues to fight against the racism and prejudices that frequently emerge in his path. His response to the problem, with courage and dignity, is admirable, but what he really needs is a solid response from the Spanish authorities, who must take effective action against racism in sports. The fight against racism should not be fought only by players but also by the responsible entities, which need to create a culture of respect and inclusion both on and off the field. In football, Vinícius Jr. has become a symbol of resistance, not only for his skills on the field, but also for his fight against racism. Upon arriving in Spain, he faced racist attacks that should have no place in sports, but unfortunately, this has been the reality for many black players over the years. Despite his success, titles, and a brilliant career, Vinícius has found himself forced to become an activist against this injustice, something no one should have to do. He has the power to be heard, is one of the most important players in the world, and should be celebrated for his courage and talent. But the real fight against racism continues, with him leading the charge. However, this burden should not be carried alone. Racism in football is a problem that involves not only the players but also the federations, leagues, and society as a whole. Unfortunately, the responsible entities often limit themselves to issuing statements of support without taking real and effective action. This forces figures like Vinícius to assume a responsibility that is not his, while punishments for the aggressors remain minimal or non-existent. The support of major authorities in sports is essential for racism in football to be fought effectively, but the lack of action and tolerance of the aggressors makes the battle even more difficult. Vinícius Jr., with his stance, is not only defending his dignity, but also that of everyone else who faces racism daily, whether in football or outside of it. He is an example of resistance, but change needs to come from everyone: clubs, players, federations, and fans. The fight against racism must be collective, and not just the responsibility of one player.